Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Despite all the promises of openness, honesty, and transparency, it seems that from the very first day, literally day one of Humza Yousaf's reign as First Minister, it was all about secrecy, no comment, and keeping everything firmly under his hat. They were having briefings on how to answer questions and was told effectively, you say nothing ever about anything. This has all come to light, of course, and we're going to have a look at this very short article, but I just thought it was worth a look at because it just goes to show that everything they say about their openness and honesty is just a pack of absolute SNP lies. Here goes. Now, these people wouldn't know honesty and openness. It came and bit them on the backside. And this story sort of really highlights why. So, secretive Scottish Government told Humza Yousaf to no comment any questions about the SNP finances. John Paul Marks, who is the Permanent Secretary for the Scottish Government, warned the First Minister and his ministers to stonewall questions about the Operation Branchform police probe. There he is, look, he's out there trimming his bush. Yes, I do like a well-trimmed bush myself. The Secretary of Scottish Government advised new First Minister Humza Yousaf to stonewall questions about the SNP finances and to reply no comment to any queries. And in further farcical scenes, Keith Brown was forced to ask officials about how to answer a question from a high school student about whether Nicola Sturgeon's resignation had anything to do with Operation Branchform, which of course it did, amongst many other things. But I mean, you've got a minister who can't answer the questions because they're too hard and he hasn't been briefed on what the truth is today. The new revelations came amid a lull in the police probe in the SNP finances, with the last public action being the arrest of former Treasurer Colin Beattie. Goes on just a minute there telling about who was arrested and released and blah. We're not interested in that. We've covered it 1,000 times. But now the Scottish Daily Express can reveal that the government's permanent secretary had to step in to warn Mr Yousaf and his ministers about keeping quiet about the police probe. This guy is a civil servant. The permanent secretary is not a member of the government. Why is the civil service protecting a party like this? This isn't right, surely. You're getting the civil service effectively becoming politicised, and that is not what you want. In emails seen by this website, John Paul Marks is the one who allegedly told the First Minister about Mr Murrell's arrest on the 5th of April and said that all police announcements would go through him first. He's the Permanent Secretary. He is not a member of the government. And do you want a politicised civil service? Because you've got the next government coming in, might be Labour, but you've got a pro-SNP civil service, and so you may have the civil service sort of scuppering plans, sabotaging policy, or when the SNP get back in future, the civil service grassing up and telling the SNP everything Labour did. You cannot have this. This is totally unacceptable. He wrote, as FM, as is routine for all high-profile Police Scotland action, the Chief Constable contacted me at 8 a.m. this morning to update on Operation Branchform. Following agreement with the Crown Office, Police Scotland have arrested a suspect and taken him into custody to be interviewed under caution. I inform you after the event and after this Police Scotland action has occurred, as is routine, with the explicit permission of the Crown Office, CC. In terms of any and all liaison from the Scottish Government, ministers or senior Scottish Government officials on Operation Branchform, I have agreed with the Chief Constable that this should be via me only without exception. No. You are not the government. You're a civil servant. Why are you making political decisions? Why are you directing what a party can and can't do? Then, following Mr Beattie's arrest on the 18th of April, Mr Marks once again emailed Mr Yousaf, and this time he warned him what to say to the press. That's not his job. The First Minister has his team, his political team, his special advisors. They are supposed to be doing this job. The civil servant's job is to get on with enacting what the government tell them to do, not to direct policy. That's not the civil service job. If he wants to leave the civil service and join politics, he's free to do so. But he cannot act as a civil service on a party political matter. This calls into question the very legitimacy of the Scottish Government and indeed the whole of the Holyrood Parliament. And it's things like this which is the basis for pulling it, scrapping it and getting rid of the whole devolved pile of mess, He's writing, and this is John Paul Marks again. I am writing to record that I spoke to the FM earlier this morning to confirm further Police Scotland action with regards to Operation Branchform relating to the SNP party treasurer. I informed the First Minister that after Police Scotland action had taken place, on advice from the Chief Constable, as per below, in terms of any and all liaison from Scottish Government ministers or senior SG officials on Operation Branchform, I have agreed with the CC that this should be via me without exception. I would advise no comment on live investigations. That man needs to be brought up on professional charges. He needs to be fired from his position. He has now shown that he is no longer fit to be a civil servant. He has politicised the entire civil service. At that moment, there is no legitimacy to the Scottish Government. He's basically broken the Scottish Government, and that needs to be highlighted and asked. On to February the 17th, 2 days after Miss Sturgeon's resignation as First Minister, a staffer for the then Justice Secretary, Mr Brown, emailed the Scottish Government to ask for advice in regards to a question from a high schooler. He was on a visit to Dollar Academy in Clackmannanshire, where he was about to take questions from advanced higher modern studies students. And one of them was about the police probe. It asked, do you think the investigation into fraud has played a role in Sturgeon's resignation, and do you feel that this will have a significant impact on the party's image or on how her time in office will be remembered? And that is it's a very good question, and it's a perfectly legitimate question. And especially coming from one so young, it shows that somebody is paying attention. The former First Minister has repeatedly denied that she quit due to the impending arrest of her husband. But that, I think, is a complete lie. Her opposition colleagues and even some within the SNP did not believe this thing. They believe she did resign because she was warned in advance what was coming. Scottish Tory chairman Craig Hoy told the Scottish Daily Express that the whole SNP situation was serious and toxic, and that the secrecy did not surprise him. He says it's little surprise SNP ministers have been advised to stonewall any questions about the financial scandal engulfing the party. Avoiding scrutiny and saying nothing is their default position whenever there are awkward questions. And the thing is, with awkward questions, it's every question you ever ask the Scottish Government is going to be an awkward question, because everything they do is utterly, utterly wrong. He continued, while that tactic might work to palm off journalists, it won't cut it with the police. This is a major criminal investigation, and everyone questioned by the Police Scotland has a duty to cooperate. It's a measure of how serious and toxic this scandal is for the SNP that their deputy leader, Keith Brown, was petrified about being grilled on it by school pupils. A Scottish Government spokesman said, given there is a live police investigation, it would be inappropriate to comment. And that, of course, as we know, ladies and gentlemen, is another lie, because it is perfectly acceptable to comment. They keep using this live police investigation to avoid scrutiny. But the scrutiny will continue. They are liars. They are proven liars. I can say that without any fear of being libelous, because we know they have lied. And so it is absolutely fine to look at them all, say they're all liars, they all know. And this fact that they're getting this man, the senior civil servant, acting in a political capacity means he should be fired. He's no longer a civil servant. He's a political animal now. That's fine. He cannot be a civil servant if he's pro-SNP, which he undoubtedly is. And he should not be allowed to have any more access to anything like that. He must be fired from the civil service and go out work, elsewhere, and go and find a job for someone more fitting his talents, But it does, by doing that, call into legitimacy the whole of the devolved government. And I think now it is time. And Rishi Sunak has now got the tool that he needs to basically get rid of the devolved government, because it is no longer staffed by an impartial civil servant. It is all now politicised and therefore not fit for purpose, and certainly not fit to serve the Scottish people. And I shall round off and come up. You have to ask how much longer this can continue. All this secrecy, all these lies. And now they're even getting the civil service to cover up and protect a political party, rather than being impartial and handing everything over to the police and not getting involved at all, telling only the truth rather than trying to hide the truth, which is what that civil servant advised them to do. This is the straw that breaks the camel's back, I feel. The whole devolved government needs to be abolished, it needs to be taken back, and they need to just basically tell them all to go home because they are not fit to serve the people of Scotland. It is terrible. And I think we do need a full investigation as to the politicisation of the civil service in Scotland as well. And I think heads needs to roll, and I think there needs to be possibly criminal charges. Anyway, I shall finish there. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you're seeing here on the channel, please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well. You know they're all crooks, so don't bother. And goodbye.